ekosa na emmoa emagidia timamufo no wo ewo saa womo a omohwe atentene ne so no etosini osigidie no etosini fi se eye judicial service no nkoa ne dwumaku a timamufo no ewo omugidi a chese omo ani da omo so se eto de den a omo ena omo dwan kotoa omo na wedie yemfa so a yesiso enyeye yemfa yansiwa yedisiwa enyeye ene se abaya wote so no adada sa judicial service ne se ono ankasa ne body bi asabio eda ne bochi aso ene okusa opusa no oyeni sei ose eho abehia pa se timamufo ene aban ahodo a ewo abibimam nyina omo bemma judicial service ahodo no fa ahodie no omotimi edi dwuma soronko kra na aboa ama omayi atumpo de sansem yi atudwa ewo Arusha ewo Tanzania mamu ebra na abibimam nyina ehia na omo ye African Court of Human people's rights no na okasa wase no de atudwa se enwa behia pa se dwuma yaku ahodo titiripa ene won na omohwe atentene ne so no aban ahodo ene mpanyufo ahodo a ewo omam ebeboa ama omodwuma omudie ni nyina ebesi pi na esita ose kase yandu kwan na se kase anka odan a ose kwan ne tene ose se wokoto se obi dia esi so a enya wadwen se ebi a ofiri so a oma so ose da bi anhwe ya omfiri no so kura na ode aba so yanhwe na nsen ya covid emra covid eyiniti ewo China ne nkura ahodo so ne enim se Ghana ha de abibimam a ebi emma nanso entoje ene bro na epiemu ewo abibimam no kire se bibi nkoye ewo man foforo mu a ense se amampanya ahodo fo no so ede omonsa ehye omontumam no omhwe omo ha esanse ofiri omo so a wode beba omo so yankwai na yankotie Ghana mampanya excellency John Dramani Mahama Abibiu.
Technological advances have made the world feel like a small place. At no other time in our lifetime was that more evident than during the COVID-19 pandemic. By the time the World Health Organization announced the discovery of a new virus in Wuhan, China, that virus was already on an aeroplane to Johannesburg. It was already present in Accra on the roadside as individuals waited for a trotro at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, or seated towards the rear of a daladala en route to Ngaramtoni. If you look beyond Africa, what you find is that facade of the so-called Global North, a group of countries that have long held themselves up as beacons of democracy and human rights, of liberty, justice, and the rule of law, is fast crumbling. Judiciaries are no longer independent. Citizens and lawful residents are being disappeared by mass law enforcement and then placed without due process indefinitely in detention centers. We see executive overreach and a steady weakening of legislative independence. We see violations of international law. Restrictions are being placed on freedom of speech, assembly, and protest. There's a general loss of liberties and a sharp decline in public trust in governments. Mwalimu Julius K. Nyerere famously said, "One does not judge one's state of health by comparing yourself to a sick person." For far too long, we compared ourselves to the West and used what we believe were their standards as our benchmarks for all our endeavors. The reality we see today should serve as a clear call to action.
And I could see Ghana Mampany's Excellency John Dramani Abibiu Mahama.
Yatwaka siano so ane ejina omampani asuya yawa. Nano Bible so many any other two just say, Mantama hodo a try and one share SHS, a one Mantama hodo no, one aka one boma, would dear Goya can say intercolleges athletics competition. And nona and now so am I at the Sembebre. Yes, a school way for a school way. At the Sembebre, Abba, I know my CID for Wakra, a bear mu ebie. And nona and nay or Mampani John Dramani Mahama, I'm sorry, Etia, Ekasa, Echle, and Womasian Stray, and say, one shall say. Discipline pa you can't say strict discipline ebeba ye ewo ye SHS ahodo ewo man nesan say na say niam ekoso ani enyan eno na osofo abedi akire edema enwumasua no Dr. Clement Apak enso e can be say osusu suania when ni Ghana Education Service embraso na when ni suku awo mu so embraso na wo de mra be hye wonsa na baye bibia ebetia emra no ye do ba ko gina emra ano na ne sefa tansa wo se ye do tum po a ye do ba ko to afiase eno na wo san ka biem se de wo se asuafo no eye ne se wɔbɛhyɛ no ɔtwe wɔn free ne bɔnyɛ ensam ɛso na afɛ wɔde wɔn ani bɛsi ɛnwoma sua so ɛsan sɛ no ɛne wɔn daakye wɔde saa nsɛm yi atu dwa ɛbɛrɛ na asuafoɔ bi a wɔkɔkyerɛ BC wɔdi nkunum nipa aduonu enum edi nkunim ɛhɔ na wɔde saa nsɛm atu dwa yɛnkɔtie onimonyamfoɔ Dr. Clement Apak ne nsɛm na ɔde tu dwa no ebi.
We are not happy with the hooliganism, the lawlessness, and indeed the misconduct that we are recording in some secondary schools, not all, very few. But as the saying goes, one bad nut can soil the taste of the rest of the nuts in your mouth. So please stay away from such behavior. Conduct yourselves properly, focus on your studies, and let your colleagues know that those who refuse to conduct themselves properly, those who misbehave, those who will be lawless, those who will engage in acts of criminality will be dealt with. And I'm sure you've heard that some of your seniors in some of those schools where we had reports about misconduct and lawlessness, the Director General is here, the Chief Director is here, Minister has given us the marching orders, the President has given us his blessing in our secondary school. So if you misconduct yourself, you will be arrested, you will be prosecuted, and you will go to jail.
So for we o amananso ha obi e no hye akyerɛkyerɛfo enkuran titi no wɔn a yɛde wɔn kɔ enkurase atu mu wɔn kɔ kyerɛ de no ɔsɛ mu ma mo wɛn hokɔ yɛde kɔ enkurase a ma wɛn we san sɛ aban no bɛto wakatua mu ɔha mu abupan aduo me kyerɛ 20% nti yɛde kɔ enkurase a ma wɛn hokɔ no so yɛnkɔ tie no kasa ɛfa ho.
As you know, there are inequalities depending on where you are. So we have schools that are less endowed. We have schools that are also in the rural parts of this country. And we have schools where when we even post teachers, they are not willing to go because the schools are so remote and those environments are not attractive. But government is very determined to address some of these challenges. So you may have heard the President and the Minister speak about the Teacher Dabre program. And the President mentioned this during the State of the Nation's address on Friday. That is to help provide accommodation so that teachers will find it a lot more easier to take up postings in rural communities. But the President doesn't just leave it there. He also has a program that is going to reward teachers who take up teaching positions in the rural areas slightly more than their colleagues who do not. And that is a policy that is going to allow teachers who take up postings in rural communities and the served communities 20% on top of their gross salary as part of the motivation. So the thinking is that if we can combine the provision of accommodation and some additional regulation, it will make it easier for teachers to take up appointments in rural underserved communities. So that students in Bunkuru, students in Fubisi, students in Doninga or Bachonsa can also have the opportunity to excel as you have. So that someday they can also come to Accra.
Ene ayekoti oswafo abedi akire edema enwumasua no aso Dr. Clement Apak.
The also mo yene se awase omo kai tete no anu mo ko school na teacher ni free baby ba ne nkora ne yedwane no ti se mo fra no mo ma yentia wo mo from primary SHS intino omo de omo ho nti wodo no kopie mu stadium ne ade se okoye ntekwa ho no okochire na kaka bensem eni tumi eno na fa ho die sem child rights then right na doso ye didi man yen tete ye different from omo ama no ne no ndi se ni sitete omofra wa buruchiri no different from se ni sitete omofra wa ha nti omo nhwe na tete na ne ye tete ye na teacher ni ba na wudwane omo ye bibi ofie kura na ama ne ka so do committee teacher ni na wo yem hyehye ene teacher ni na kura ni teacher ni na edi ehurisi ye teacher ni so teacher ni ba na akura hia ne say me school e kina me ma ene omu nsuro enti se be ye pa so betimi di discipline every senior high schools ni junior high schools ahodo no ho be hia pa se omo me nkai tete no se ne ni si libri mu kwara no no munya child rights sem ne yin na mofra ne fa hodie no adoso abuso la suguso a wuti anyume no Sikka Kase ebo e wo Sikka 89.5 FM kasa fidie so ye to aso dia na ye de mu wura mu e wo mrahye bejafie mi wura mu ho no dia na ye dom kuma e wo mrahye bejafie ene de abetu jase eye PFM amendment bill na kire se bill a wo de betum bam no eye bill a e be yan sakraye e wo kwan a aban efa so a odini sika titiru pa ne dwumayeku ahodo eni dwumadwuma aban edie omo kire ma se ya bra so se omo de nsakraye ebe mu ni nyina ne se eye finance ministry no etimi tabiri sika ahodo no de akodi dwuma wei obehwe na aka nwuram obehwe no osan atabiri sika dwuma de foforo na no osan ade akoma MCE wei no no nso eye bi na aka nwuram obehwe ne yedi dwuma bi a ense na mfatana no nyina hini ye aban ba akopɛ so akosi ayi bi asi won match sesesei ada ne bosom eno ena dom kuma e wo mrahye bejafie de atu dwa se eho abenya pa se aban no eye na omo ye ntotoye na omo di ni nyina egu na kwam se ne ebe ya omo benya bibia ye friend national developmental property priorities sorry national developmental priorities so hu se ne ebe ya aban no ene oman ni nyuma ehun hia oman no ena ye tabiri sika ne ye de ko ho enya de MCE bi eye enya de MPB eye enya de DCE bi ye ena Kaisel ato forcing ononyamfo a ono ena he sika sam so tabiri sika e de akoma no necessary mra no mo de ba ne be ye mra e be we pa se ansana enya finance ministry no e be tabiri sika na so be kutri sika e de abre obi se onfa nkodi dwuma no na dwuma na nipa ni kodi ne ye dwuma e wo sa oman no plan no so atimamufo no ye hia a oman no so age atum se ye hia ade a ye kwakoye ne ade a e de kanko pepepe ye ne yedie ebebe oman no enya ade ebeboa ama obi enya interest ewomu anase obi eye die nti ene ye koye nemum e ade a ye de ebeye aboa ama sika bebra ye tugu nwuram edidi dwuma hodo a eka ebi onum a ye bebo kasa company we ni esi obekọ na aka ho o stadium we ni esi obekọ na aka ho nomnyafo akọjo opon enkroma na de nsem yitu dwa se sia ide sa amendment bill ya omudi koyi ebeboa pa ama ansa na aban betabiri sika no na de ode koye no ewo oman plan so a friend developmental plan no ewo so ansa na omunyina age atum aboa ama oman fotosamfo atimi atabiri sika e de akoma obi a odi dwuma e de ama oman yenkwai na yenkoti onmonyamfo kwadwo opon enkroma.
And so this amendment seeks to deny the Ministry of Finance the opportunity to fund such projects and programs. This is separate from contingencies or emergencies that may come up. But for regular programs and projects that have not been included in the strategic plan of the MMDA or the MDA to get certification, the object of this amendment bill is to deny funding for it until such a time that it is thought of, captured and certified as part of the National Development Planning Commission's program. The reason is that also from our experience in government and looking at the loopholes that exist today, there is room and there is a practice where a lot of money is spent on projects that are deemed important by the heads of these institutions, but these projects have not been included in the strategic plan and certified by the NDPC. Our hope is that we will find the best way to close this loophole so that every cedi that is spent of our limited resources is in pursuance of the National Development Plan, which would have been certified by the NDPC.
Natural say ba na ya ba benya ade a friend National Development Plan eno ena dwumaku ahodo adwuma aban ne pese wo ye anamo aban ne pese wotuo na odebo atebamufo ni nyina ebekutire agu so se na ebe ya aban no etabiri sika se yamfa enkodi dwuma obehu se sa dwuma na yekodie no ewo plan ni ma ebeboa amatebamufo ene ye ne ayewo oman ni mu nyina yanya so emfa so ne entabiri sika enkoto enwumfa nkoye bibia emfa mfa so emre tebamufo ene Ghana for enyina na no si ya pepepe na Camilo Puamai ononso na deputy clerk of parliament na sebe defio ononso eribi esoso.
The ultimate objective therefore is to enrich a disciplined, coherent an accountable public financial management regime in which planning precedes budgeting. And budgeting drives expenditure, and every city spent demonstrably advances Ghana's national development priorities as enshrined in the Constitution and the National Development Plan. Your collective wisdom, operational experience, and constructive critique at this forum will be invaluable in ensuring that the financial legislation is not only constitutionally sound and technically robust, but also practical, implementable, and capable of delivering the transformative alignment between planning and budgeting that the nation urgently requires.
Onimanyamfo Camilo Puamai ene de tuja se tabriska no e de mamo na se mudi kodijuma afia no so no be penso amodi juma no akoduro no momfa mra na yeso yemfa ni krocho awisie yi enhwem
Yatu akase no so a na medemo ko ayawaso is about one peso aso e wan krampumpuni mantam Bible so mi mienu nie na ye ma Ghana fo nyina asote se o ma hyebedwani a wogina mu ema abato mpeso ya no so no wato ananum e won sedo onimonyamfo na sa Ture Mohammed enu ti no esese electoral commission ehye emra na ye gina so na ye to aba se ne be ya obenya obi ade agina mu e won mpeso ya no so e won ma hyebedwam e de ama won eno enanam so e ma party ahodo akeka wonti abom eyi obi na musini a wo be gina e wo party no edin mu eno na enam so matimamufo a ewo ayawaso is ekasa se abana yanto ye no achina de be chiam yakoto abano ebi mo nam kuntuna se eto aban me che vote buying a enya ade a eye ani sokora wo se wo pese wo to aban kire won adwen na wo yi obi a wo se fata no ko gina won anam ewo mrahye bedwam enye obi a wonam kuntuna se eto abano na mo wan kire mo se party A anase party B na ebo sa abran ni fani B enam kuntuna se a what to a mano vote buying no what to a mano enya kwan paso eno nenam so ametimamufu a wo ayawaso is abato mpeso ya no so e kire wadwen e de kire ensem kirefo yenko tie won nsem no a wo kire mu no ebi.
Why will you buy a vote if you know you are coming to do a good job? Now people have given money. We need development, not money.
Yeah, I think vote buying is when you try to use something, either monetary or something valuable, to influence someone's decision. And I believe in the democracy that we are, we want someone to willingly decide on himself what the message someone has. Based on the message, then the person can take a decision. But to get to use money or any valuable item to influence someone during or before election, I don't think it's a good idea.
People are shell money them things. Say nipo betimi ayade ni mo no omo nto ma no this will be always ka betimi tua primary or they call delegate from Sikka Kase3 no betuma to aba, but it's not fine for our Ghana. Our country is too bad for us now.
Na me say amanfo no wo mo right say on betimi avote ila bia enchio mo hwi so say what nipa na adwen okita na honde okita ni power okita no. Now say we medito adwin se na be ya wa vuta am
Neba onya bapawa na uchiche plasma machines and meba no hoda good mienu no man say moto nko na egum say we aba na dem say other brase yem chicha mama na asa me ti say see MP na fufa yem pese yem fa no ono chesa me say what we mo sorry Muslim be corruption. We know Papa Omponi. Now unya scanway. We do moto plasma. And you more uchiche mango. We know Papa Omponi. Now Papa in the sub buy.
Timamufu wa ayawaso is about one person aso na ekire omadwo se wuji hudi se wugina wo party na namu na wo ye adwumaden na wo se fatase eto abama ma ko gina mu e ma won e wo ma hye bedwam a ene hu hia se wudi bibia akosesa obi adwene se wo ma ye fa kwantene ne no so ne de to aba e de emma
na chese ni ma na mo chiche na afudi afunu mo na
adoso
moto ni TV ni plasma
TV ni na sefo
ni ma yi bi akọ na makoto bi na ma
se no wo sika ene no betimi aye adwuma no
okay
no wo sika no wo wi ni eno ne ha timemofo no
okay so mo anso na je no mato aba no
se obi wa ha wa nya bi ni obi ani be nya bi ya asem no
Abushaya to akasi abane so na ya de ani akire mu ewo sofumame Patricia esiedua esiama de dodo na edini mu no ma parts yenyina yesa abone me na se nana agrada no waje so yes nana agrada ebrebi atwamu na oye konfoba anchakura ena nyame eto ne nsafra ne yi ni firi akomnum esa ema ne be evangelist akire se waje ne home na ye papa wasi asoda kese pa chese no oguso edi ne juma ne obekọ no o chesika hodo obekọ emo otimi de ma no ani adanse ye kuro otimi so mfama de mame gene back na wasan aje aha na obekire ho chese evangelist ma party de wa dijuma ye pa yenyina yenim se afie twamu na ensembi for na chese yede no eko gina emra na nimu ebubo no eno na ebeto dwa se sofumami enkwai na onkokire aban kukumba se emfie edunum aha eno na asem no eko na aba ye ko ne ye betena so na rayafo esesa fasa hodo no ma keka shempampe se topaye no ma mimimini o mu minimu se de o mu koya efro ni nyina no mo de kokoto hodo no mu wuram no mo ye enche kura ene beto ja se na grada ne sentence ne yateso ya high sense ni se hu na kire se 15 no yateso manaka wine abusuya baako afepe na kire se da oda mu firi eye afrase ni besi nne no nyame ya dom edatena ena nafe no eso pepepe no ena ne mranim ni eye mranim ni Richard Asaribafo ede abetu dwase wedie enye special pardon bia o enye se oya agrada nti enye se wo se sende na mensan nti enye se oya sofo esiama kunu ntia enye se oya ma part ntia ena enye sei wedi na mra kwan so pepepepepe ne eye edema afoforo no enu bi ena aso na agrada aso a enu nti no eda kyena abusuya se de na aso na ya hyase apenti ho nyina fefefefefefefe ya chese blue and white no etopiti se sen ti eja bo eja ko eja enya abedru na agrada yankopon ya adom eda kyena ena afepepepe edema ne se onkodam no wakwatwiri mu a kyere se aso enti sofumame ma part is coming home. Enti oba bete I'm coming home. So mami I'm coming home bebe fie ama efie ayede yenkwai na yenkotie ne mra nim ni no ensem a ode etudwa.
The remission scheme is available to every prisoner. It is not a special dispensation given to anyone. It is available to all prisoners, of which Mama Part is also part of. Basic remission. The jail term is divided into 3. The prisoner gets to spend 2/3 of it, and so to speak, the state also accommodate or take care of the 1/3. In our case, 12 months were handed down to our clients, and that would translate to 8 months. And the jail term was to take effect retrospectively. That is from the 3rd of July when she was sentenced. Meaning, if you were to do a computation, 8 months from the 3rd of July, that will take you to 3rd of March, which is why there's been this speculation that she'll be out on the 3rd March, and rightly so. I believe this should suffice. That's the explanation. It is a dispensation in force. It is not any special dispensation given to anyone.
Nana agrada anasa fumame ma part ne mra nimni Richard Asaribafo ene de tu jasesa eya yede amano no remission policy ne de obia yeye ma no enye nana agrada enkunyankopon ya adom edatena ni t-shirt ahodo nyina omo ahyase a omo echentikyira enkran pumpuni mantemo ampaye a ebedwama part is coming home.
I wish I wanted to ask you one number the New Patriotic Party meche NPP for Akachi. Asante mantemu chairman wojinemu ema NPP amanyoko no onimonyamfo Bernard Entwibu asiakon ye bone mrane se chairman wuntumi na yekasei wo se wajina amanyoko nim edi chairman efie bebre e de ama MPP wasante manten say de wo konanim wo kon national chairman eno na nam so mankrofo bi keka nsem say na chairman won't me kura de abrofo kura wonte brofo want to brofo back say want to make a brofo baby na yeda na want trans man time no ni chairman na afi was work on national and was she mode amuntie adwuma metimi ye no eniema metimi aye na osna amanyoko no aba aban mu 2028 no enya sankotante brofo kakra de mo fa no kwa tonchen enya no kwa na ma party eba power eti mo fa no kwa tonchen na mo hwe adwuma obetimi aye na esi ahene na etu ahemfra wo MPP mu no eduru ho no ma wo mo nto aba no ma no no mo ye national chairman na no na be obegina so ebe ye adwumaden be bone modern pa se na ebe ya 2028 no aba no na se 2028 no MPP aban no ebe ba aban mu ye nkokotie chairman wuntumi ne nsem no awde ti udwa no ebi.
So if you want to judge me, don't judge me about over English, but judge me about my competency. Judge me about my competency. Don't judge me about English, because I can't speak. I can't speak, but judge me about my competency. Judge me about my competency. What I have done and what I can do, the strategy I can put it in place for us to win the elections. This is what you should ask me. Not about the English. Say a two about the mummy. Make a today make go no matter where campaign. No, almost tip for and your key over person almost and to say a two about the mummy. Million of platform one. What we have to do go swallow.
When monyan for Bernard and Chibu Asiako, dodo na afra no say, Chama wuntumi na kasa was say, enya brofo na ekoto abawo, enya brofo ene be mana ban aba power. Enwa ne se adwumaden enti adwumaden no omo hye so no mo to aba ma no me ye national chairman fama MPP amanyoko nse na be ya 2028 obeje abanya no e de ama MPP amanyoko no. Na
yejina chairman entwi Bosiako chairman untumi nsem ne so na ye de enwumre no nsiaka se ebo no nyina aba no ewie aseda kese pa ebeko ede amayesemfo of Alasan okonje abo akra ha sanso na Kwame Ofori aboaje ene bobo ansem nyina ano ede mai nantie enwa ba mame efumwa kafna sanso ne reporters out of atomi wo ahene ene akoko asense o nyina eka ho ni sumadwuma efo nyina afidie mu hade do chinchin fidie no ede fam framem CEO ono ene da bullet fashion anu DJ bullet ono se Joe ena chinchin fidie ni nyina ede emaye sanso so ena de obone no ede maye oba juni akenkan fo abusua ye je pene ye ne ye be kenkan ede emamo nana yawo ye bo abema ba Argentina